Today's topic is 3D Max and Mentalei. Actually, today's lecture and the lab exercise is the comparison between two different renderers. First one, V-Ray, you experienced before, mostly on top of SketchUp. But today, we will use Mentalei as well as V-Ray. So let's take a look at those two different renderers, and we like to see the visual effects from both of them, okay? Before getting into the lab exercises, today's lab exercises, let's take a look at some list, what to do for today. We're gonna have a lecture, 3D visualization and renderers, focusing on two different renderers, V-Ray, Mentalei. Even if you don't have any experiences in Mentalei, Autodesk material, Pro material, Arc design, 3D Max, we will do some series of lab exercises. Before doing that, Max, Mentalei, we're gonna review V-Ray again, focusing on V-Ray, not SketchUp, okay? So 3 SketchUp V-Ray lab exercises and 3 3D Max based Mentalei rendering. Also, we're going to use V-Ray on top of 3D Max, but not today. Anyway, today's focus is comparison between two different renderers, even without experiences, okay? And also, I like to show you again technical note. Firstly, this is our course website. If you don't have permit to access this course website, just simply click send request and then I'll give you permit for accessing this course website, okay? The course website so far has 3 lecture slides in PDF format, but PowerPoint file gonna be distributed through the network, so you open the file and you can take a look at it. Second, accessing the PC 504-main. Probably now you know, all you remember and newly know how to access the server. The server computer is located here, instructor's desk, and you should bring your own USB, your own external hard drive or USB, so that you can copy the files for the course material for this week, for next week, next after next week. For the examination, reviewing the course material, further studies, and so on, okay? Including lab exercise folders. Today's folder probably around 300 megabytes. So 300 megabytes, not direct access. Copy that folder, entire folder to your USB or hard drive. Temporarily, you can save the file on your desktop or D drive, C drive, but you must move your file to your USB, your hard drive, okay? Now you know what to do. And some conventions I list up. Those computers are for our department students, not just for this course. So you have an obligation to keep the computers clean. So take a look at instruction, okay? The guideline. Most of all, you must copy the file, not direct access. Don't double click the file on the computer, on the network server. Also, I already let you know the Autodesk student download. We already installed 3D Max 2015. Later on, we're gonna install V-Ray plugin on top of 3D Max 2015. And also you can download AutoCAD, Revit, and so on from Autodesk Student Download, free, okay? So as a reminder, I show you this page again, Autodesk free software for students. Another thing you should remember is you need to use 3D Max design, okay? Not just 3D Max. I'll let you know what's the difference between those two different versions. If you install 3D Max, same interface, but there is no Arc design, no material for architectural design, okay? That is why you need to use 3D Max design. you should click AEC software and choose 3D Max design. To sum up for the course in this computer lab, you need to take account some regulations here, okay? Just kind of summary. Today's lab exercise requires 6 different submissions. So you have an obligation to submit entire assignment from this lab exercise today until, hopefully, until end of this class. I mean, until around 6 p.m. If you don't finish, that's okay. Finish up everything until tonight, okay? Midnight. If you fail to submit your files, submit next week, okay? That's okay. Not 100% okay, but anyway, okay. Technically, there is no homework, no assignments, okay? I would like to encourage you to finish up everything within the course hour, 4 hours, okay? Communication for the class, I list up how to do, what to do. If you have any questions or further issues for the class, let me know. Email me or stop by my office, okay? Or using that Talk SNS. Okay, let's get started the lecture. Something includes some review about some 3D modeling and visualization. So what is the surface-based 3D modeling? The term modeling here, I said it's geometric modeling. Surface-based 3D model, in other words, it's a polygon-based 3D model, mostly using SketchUp or 3D Max design, okay? What's the surface model? In terms of history of CAD, history of computer graphics, we are still in the kind of elementary stage, the second stage. Surface-based 3D modeling, that is much better and advanced one from 2D-based line drawing. But anyway, it's not the advanced one. But advanced and good enough for only for visualization, okay? That is why we are dealing with SketchUp and 3D Max. It's very effective and fast and good enough for design visualization purpose, okay? What's surface-based model? This diagram simply shows you the difference between surface-based 3D and solid-based 3D. If you cut this object out, you can find out inside of that element is hollow, empty. But if it's solid, it's going to be filled with something else, okay? Very simple difference. But actually, there are some more issues. If it's surface-based model, sometimes if you can see this side, but sometimes the other side, the opposite side, usually invisible or kind of empty. In other words, simply imagine this is a building. If you design building exterior, that is okay. When you render it, it's visible. But if you want to make something interior and place camera inside and want to see this area, sometimes it's not visible. Or sometimes it's totally dark, totally black. Because surface has 2 directions, okay? This direction and opposite direction. Usually, exterior side is only visible. Visualization is activated. The other side usually empty or dark black. So in that case, you have to flip, okay? Flip this surface when you are working with the other side of that surface. But nowadays, 3D Max or general surface-based modeling is probably both sides. But some years ago, for saving computing power, surface usually only one-sided, okay? But solid model, we don't need to take care of that issue because that is solid object. the same as our real object, okay? What's the component of surface-based model? This box is surface-based model. In terms of geometry, it has an edge and the face. Actually more vertices, okay? Vertices means the points for that angle. So you have experience in using SketchUp. You can push-pull the face. You can control this edge, but there is no way to control the vertices. But in 3D Max, you can push-pull one point, this edge, so that you can modify the shape of this box, also including edge and face. And you can place amount of more vertices. Place a vertex and pulling it out so that you can modify the shape, geometry of that box, okay? This is face-based, polygon-based model. Actually, in this polygon-based model, actually the same as solid model, but in 3D, in terms of 3D geometry, you should know all this curved line is a composition of this series of straight lines, okay? When you draw a circle in SketchUp, default number of lines, 24. In other words, if you're zooming in, you can see straight lines, 24 lines, okay? If you change that option to 100, 100 straight lines for that circle. In other words, smoother, okay? Much better. The number of lines, usually we call it segment, okay? So if you change number of segments higher, and then you can see much smoother and much better output in terms of 3D geometry. How about surface? How about polygon? Take a look at this one. This one looks like curved surface, but actually all flat surfaces are there, okay? But if you put a lot more surface, a lot more flat surface, usually triangular shape, and then you can finally, eventually see much better and well-formed, something organic shape, curves and polygons. This is the kind of basic, fundamental of 3D surface-based model. This one. All triangular shape, polygons, poly, are there for representing this organic shape surface, 3D. So surface is a collection of edges, at least 3 edges. 3 edges made one triangular shape, flat surface. 4 will make this kind of rectangle shape surface, okay? If so, we have geometry, the box. But we need to represent something different in its surface, polygon. Simply we can put this kind of stamp, and then we can see this one, attached one. This is so-called diffuse when you render something. Diffuse means color or this kind of texture map, usually JPG, PNG, BMP, any kind of graphic 2D images. So a surface can be colored, a surface can be texture mapped. We say this is very fundamental thing of 3D visualization, diffuse, okay? Interaction between your eyes and the surface. So we have complicated 3D geometry, but we can attach 2D texture on top of it, and also on top of the other legs or something. And then you can texture map 3D object like that. This is very fundamental and basic way of 3D visualization, okay? So-called diffuse, texture map, and so on. In terms of that mechanism behind the technology, we experienced how to use SketchUp. So we use SketchUp for making this kind of visualization, graphics, design, and even animation. And we experienced this chair-based rendering, texture mapping, coloring, controlling its diffuse using V-Ray, and something like this photorealistic rendering. These images from V-Ray website using SketchUp V-Ray plugin. So we have experienced this V-Ray on top of SketchUp. That's what you have learned in Intro to Digital Design class last year. And you already knew how to take advantages of existing geometry using 3D warehouse. Amount of SketchUp models are predefined, uploaded, and freely accessible by you guys, and you can download the model. But you designed, you geometrically modeled your object and colored, texture mapped, and so on, and already made final visualizations a lot. But SketchUp has a lot of limitations. No way to control point and no way to make some organic shape. That is why you need to use SketchUp plugins. Download plugins from specific websites such as Sketch Education and so on, and place that plugins on the SketchUp folder and use this kind of organic shape controlling, Bezier curve controlling, and so on. Some skin organic polygon generation purpose plugins too. The corner generation and so on. Even V-Ray is one type of plugin, okay? But anyway, it's extended. SketchUp is powerful, but we need something more, something beyond SketchUp. That is why we are dealing with 3D Max, okay? Of course, much complicated and powerful, much better software are out there, but you should understand what's the difference between those two different software, and you have to know how to take advantages of SketchUp and 3D Max or Revit or some other solid-based modeling tool or BIM tool and so on. This semester we're gonna deal with mostly 3D Max. In terms of rendering, in terms of modeling, 3D Max has amount of advantages. But if you need to use something specifically good for SketchUp, you don't need to use 3D Max, okay? Sometimes you don't need 3D Max. Sometimes SketchUp is totally enough, but sometimes you need 3D Max. That is why we need to know different applications. But always I put emphasis on you have to know background technologies, mechanism, and background theories, some fundamental issues, not user interface issues, okay? SketchUp, 3D Max, Mentalray, V-Ray, in terms of technical aspect, they are totally same, okay? But different thing is its user interface. Totally different user interface. Looking very complicated, SketchUp looking really easy, but their fundamental technology is same. That's my point, okay? As a review, we reviewed something about rendering, something about lights last week. And also, I showed you this one, rendering overview. Rendering has 3 different components: lights, target objects, and camera. Observer means camera. Target object has diffuse, reflection, refraction, self-illumination. In other words, emissive, special effects, and so on. This is V-Ray term, but those are totally same to Mentalray today in 3D Max. That is why I told you this kind of behind technological things are much important than user interface. For example, in SketchUp, there is the term emissive, emissive layer. Today we're going to deal with that too again. Emissive is totally same to self-illumination. In 3D Max, there is no emissive. Instead, there is self-illumination. If you know those two terms are same, you can choose self-illumination for making it brighter in your rendering scene, something like that, okay? Also, if you know if there is glass, it should be transparent and it should be reflective, and we put refraction rate. And then the same as Autodesk Mentaley using 3D Max, you should know you have to control that features for making that material to the glass, okay? So let's quickly take a look at user interface. This is V-Ray user interface in SketchUp. In diffuse, changing color and texture map. If you click this one, you can assign your own JPG file, image files for texture. In terms of technical aspect, diffuse is the interaction between, this is your eye or camera, and this is target object, and this is lighting source. Lighting ray is emitting from this lighting source and reflected from the surface of, surface means polygon of that object, and it's going to be get into your eye, and then you can see this scene. In terms of mathematics, computation, calculation, it's really complicated, but Newton already discovered the mechanism a couple of 100 years ago, the same as real world. That is why recent computers easily calculate this process and make the visualization totally same to the scene you have seen, okay? Computer generated image is totally or almost 100% same to the scene you have watched, okay? That's my point. But we don't need to take care of this complicate behind the technologies. What you need to know is fundamental basics. And then this diffuse idea, mechanism for diffuse, totally samely applicable to the Mentaley in 3D Max. Reflection, we have to change reflection rate and some glossiness so that you can control like this. This one is reflective, but not 100%. And its glossiness is something different from 100% mirror-like reflection, okay? Number one, reflection glossiness, and number 0.1, totally different, but same reflection rate. For refraction, what you need to know is the concept of IOR. IOR means index of refraction. Take a look at this one, glass, IOR 1.5. This is glass. How about diamond? 2.4. 1.5 and 2.4, they are looking different. This is glass, this is diamond, okay? That is why expert can differentiate diamond and just glass or some other crystal, okay? How about water? 1.3, okay? Refraction rate will be displayed like this way, according to different IOR. IOR 1 means no refraction. But if you change the value, you can see that effect like that way. Emissive, self-illumination, if you control its intensity or color, you can change the colors. If you put more intensity, color is going to be burning out. In other words, only white you can see, okay? Even if you put yellow color, you cannot see because it's too bright. But its shadow or its indirect illumination will represent the yellow color. So that's why we need to assign yellow. Anyway, that is the, actually not yellow, very dark yellow color for this one actually. Anyway, we need to know those 4 different things. Some SketchUp and rendering tips, but actually most of you here already experienced SketchUp in my last course, your prerequisite in Graphics 1 or Intro to Digital Design course. So let me quickly show you those diagrams. For your information, if you have no experience in SketchUp, using SketchUp or V-Ray, you need to take a look at this couple of pages. Very essential and fundamental issues about SketchUp. Even if you have known to SketchUp, just reviewing purpose, you can take a look at this one, okay? Controlling texture, we're gonna do something else, something like this in lab exercise hours for the lab exercise number 1, 2, and 3. How to control texture map and some additional advanced features of texture mapping and some dynamic component and so on. Okay, for the lab exercise issues, we would like to take a look at the comparison between V-Ray and Mental-Ray. There are amount of renderers on the market, but representatively, V-Ray is one of the dominant renderer. But the problem is V-Ray is one type of plugins. You have to install V-Ray in SketchUp for 3D Max or for Rhino, okay? You can download from vray.com demonstration version, but actually it's commercial. So it has pros and cons. I described pros and cons. And Mental-Ray is a default renderer when you installed 3D Max. That's a good thing. So it's free, but 3D Max is not free. So I think eventually it's not free. But anyway, you don't need to install additional renderer while you are installing 3D Max. That is why I teach you Mental-Ray and take advantages of Mental-Ray. Another good thing from Mental-Ray is for V-Ray, you have to control one by one, reflection, refraction, texture map, additional advanced options. But for Mental-Ray, you can take advantages of huge amount of Autodesk predefined presets, Autodesk material. If you want to make some glass, simply choose Autodesk glass and drag and drop. That's it. And that's going to be changing into glass. If you want some metallic, high glossy paint color, and then just simply choose it, drag it. If you want to put some carpet, just simply click carpet. Hundreds of material already provided by Autodesk material. Another thing is compatible to Revit. If you make something using 3D Max, that one can be imported into Revit. All material gonna be exported and imported without any changes. But if you are using V-Ray, in that interoperable actions, material is gonna be missing. You have to assign material again and again. But anyway, there are still pros and cons. Someone believes V-Ray rendering is much better than Mental-Ray, but Mental-Ray is growing up thanks to Autodesk. Autodesk released their newer version yearly base. That means Autodesk material grows, Mental-Ray performance, its features, advanced features, grows yearly base. So nowadays, Mental-Ray users are, I'm not sure the statistics, but amount of users are using Mental-Ray. And some Hollywood movie makers, such as Hulk or Iron Man, those movies rendered by Mental-Ray, okay? And NVIDIA, you may know the logo NVIDIA, one of the leading company who make graphics card, hardware. Mental-Ray managed by NVIDIA, okay? That is why we call it NVIDIA Mental-Ray. Anyway, there are more renders, such as Brazil. Something free, something commercial. But anyway, they all have pros and cons. I don't want to talk to something more or some user interface issues of those renders. My point here is, anyway, they are totally different company-based tool. Behind the technology, totally same. Originally discovered by Newton, okay? You know who's Newton. He's very famous scientist. He discovered principle of the light, how sunlight make our things visible, how to interact human eye and that shape, so that you can see the shape, okay, in mathematical way. That principle is kind of mathematical equation, bunch of equation. According to that, we see objects. According to that, V-ray, mental-ray render that scene. According to that, rays trace. That is why this kind of renders are ray tracing, ray traced, okay? Ray tracing is one of the important features of making photorealistic rendering. Let's take a look at about a little bit detail about mental-ray in 3D Max. You can use amount of preset. Preset means predefined setting, okay? Predefined setting for glass, predefined setup for ceramic, metal, or this kind of flow material, and so on. So-called pro materials. Nowadays, we call it Autodesk material. So this is material editor of 3D Max. You may find out some default material and nothing. This is ceramic, this is wall paint, this is some plastic, this is glass. But half of them are empty. But you can change diffuse and highlights, self-illumination, and so on. Interface is totally different, but same terms are there, okay? Refraction, reflection, and so on. IOR, index of refraction. So we can control IOR when this one gonna be refracted. Anyway, we can click material browser and we can assign amount of different material. This is one of the advantages when you are using Autodesk material and mental-ray. Just simply drag and drop this ceramic to your teapot, and then your teapot gonna be ceramic teapot, okay? That's it. You don't need to control diffuse, reflection, refraction. This one shows you that predefined materials. Same geometry, some stamp-like object. 5 by 5, total 25 objects, but total 25 different material. This is solid glass. This is thin glass. Thin glass means some thickness is very thin, but hollow, empty inside. But this is solid inside, filled with glass. That is why this one looking very heavy, this one looking very thin in terms of its thickness. And this is chrome, mirror-like metal. This one looks like so-called zinc, okay? Not that high glossy, but anyway, looks like metal. So total 25 different material from Autodesk predefined material. Simply drag and drop and rendering, that's it, okay? This is the one way of good features when you are using mental-ray. In V-ray, to make this kind of visualization, there are amount of series of things you have to do. Of course, there are some plugins or some good things, but it's not easy comparatively, okay? So mental-ray, Autodesk Arc and Design mental-ray, it has those series of good features. You don't need to take a look at in detail, but anyway, default things, reflection, diffuse refraction, some fundamental things, the same as V-ray, but something very mental specific things are there too. Round corners, if you check round corners and control the numbers, you can make your box round corner in renderer level, okay? There are some that kind of additional features are there. We're gonna take a look at that one in this semester. Anyway, there are a bunch of good things, but anyway, it's based on ray tracing and some photorealistic preset materials. Thanks to preset materials, you can generate photorealistic output, render images comparatively faster and easier, okay? This is one famous default geometry named Stanford Dragon. This is 3D Max interface. At this level, this is some line drawing view. If you can see the segments, there are a series of triangular shapes, okay? I told you surface-based 3D has series of flat surface. Usually they are triangular shape. When you render it, this one gonna be visualized in this way without any material. But if you assign satin vanished wood, and then your dragon will be displayed like this way. If you assign thin glass, this one gonna be rendered in this way. Assign glossy plastic, that one is looking like plastic, yellow color plastic, a little bit glossy. Masonry means bricks, okay? This one looking something brick wall, okay? This is one way of preset material mapping. Simply drag and drop rendering. One of our today's lab exercises is gonna be something like this. Actually, this one. You have to make primitive material, assign different material, ceramic, car paint, concrete, glass, water, metal, wall paint. This is water teapot. Anyway, you don't need to take care of its IOR, its refraction rate, and so on. Simply drag and drop water, okay? And then you can generate this kind of images. You have to submit at least 5 different materials using same view, same geometry in lab exercise number 6 today. So we're gonna deal with lab exercise, V-ray and Mental-Ray, but for V-ray, we need to use SketchUp. Actually, you can download from V-ray website for 3D Max 2015, but I'm going to distribute to you the installation file. But today's goal for lab exercise is today's main point in terms of that comparison. You have to review SketchUp and try to make some visualization using V-ray, okay? Just review purpose, but some of you totally new to SketchUp and V-ray. For that, students, you should kind of expedite way to learn SketchUp and V-ray anyway. And then move to the Mental-Ray. And you have to experience very portable distance difference between those two different renderers. Take advantages of ease of use, take advantages of predefined presets and material compared to V-ray. That's the main objective of today's rendering and Mental-Ray course, okay? And in the lab exercise hours, I'll let you know fundamental geometric modeling in using 3D Max. Also, another today's important thing is, I told you 3 major different things: lighting source, target object, and camera view. But actually, for target object, this is all about texture map, diffuse. But how about light? We're gonna use Mental-Ray sun and Mental-Ray sky for today. Controlling that sky, controlling sun, is one way of controlling your high quality light source. We don't need to install complicated artificial lights on 3D Max. In 3D Max, in Mentaley, there is only one sun. Mentaley sun is enough to generate your visualization. But anyway, in SketchUp, in V-Ray, we have to install amount of rectangle shape lights for making your visualization better. Anyway, let's move to lab exercise after the break.